Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for the nice intro, Niels. Oh, by the way, Michael Stipe is and the R.E.M. is one of my favorite bands. I met him in 1985. I was a PhD scholar visiting Georgia Tech, and this band is from Athens, Georgia, and they came to play on campus. No one knew them in Europe, and it was a lot of fun. And I met him, and I had beers with him, and he's really a great guy. Okay, this is a ball, and this is a slender stick. I was asked to bring a robot here to the show, but this, was not feasible. So what I'm trying to do now is to try to manual balance this, just, following, not bad, okay? So this is one of the tasks that humans do, like every day. You see jugglers out in the streets. So this is not an easy task to solve, and let's see whether a robot can succeed in this task. So I'm going to take you to my lab at University of Naples. This is the Prisma lab. And my student is doing a manual balancing. This is trying to keep the stick. And technically, this is called inverse spherical pendulum, for those of you who know mathematics and control. And by using a simple webcam and some kind of visual servoing, the robot is capable of keeping the inverse spherical pendulum, the stick, in equilibrium, in balance. So this is one of the tasks that my students do in the lab, and this very much captures the essence of robotics. What is robotics? The modern definition of robotics is the intelligent connection of perception to action. And these are our human functions every day. Basically, suppose that you're thirsty. I mean, there is you see where you can get a glass of water, and there's some visual data. Then you want to grasp the glass, and you have some kind of optical data, and then you send stimuli from your brain, and then you actuate the action, and then you succeed and you perform any kind of daily action. And speaking about robotics, my legacy with Springer started about now 20 years ago. This is a textbook, which is Robotics Modeling, Planning and Control, which I can proudly say is one of the most widely adopted textbooks worldwide. So it's not the handbook yet, but of course it started from there. And the story started from London. My editor at that time was Nicholas Pinfield, a gentleman working for the Springer UK in London, and he got me sign and just do this textbook, which has been translated in Italian as well as in Greek and Chinese. And thanks to this textbook, I became acquainted with the professional staff of Springer editors. I'm speaking about the team of Hubertus Riedesel in Heidelberg. And then together, we launched the Springer Tracks in Advanced Robotics, which will come in a minute. This is a funny rendering. This is a robot that I have in my lab. This is called Rodiman. And Rodiman is a robot that we are developing in the framework of an advanced grant funded by the European Research Council. I'm sure that for those of you who struggle to get funds, I mean, European Research Council is the kind of most prestigious funding that we have in Europe. And I was lucky enough in the call of 2012 to have this huge grant of 2.5 million euro, which I brought to the University of Naples, to study the problem of dynamic manipulation, like the task of the juggler, like balancing. I mean, this is really beyond the state of the art of robotics. Robots can do some actions just by grasping objects in a kind of prehensile way, and then they can manipulate. But the challenge here is to study dynamic manipulation, which is manipulating objects in a non-prehensile way, and also to consider the issue of deformable objects, elastic objects. So one night, I was working until late in the lab, as usual, with my students, and we were working against the deadline. We were working on the proposal to put together. And then we say, OK, we're going to apply this to what kind of art, what kind of demonstration for the manipulation of deformable objects. And then, as you know, Napoli is the home of pizza. And then we had this brilliant idea. I mean, this is our artifact. We're going to show the concept on a pizza. And then we involve a Michelin chef into the project. And as you can see in this picture, is wearing a biokinetic sensor suite. So what we do, we learn from observing, from scanning, from recording the motion directly from the human, other than writing thousand lines of codes like a control engineer would do. And this was a great media expedient to attract attention towards robotics and Napoli at the same time, because Napoli suffers from a number of stereotypes. For those of you who want to learn more, I gave a kind of funny TEDx talk last September. You can Google robotics and Napoli, the art of work and play, Bruno Siciliano. And this is a talk which I gave. And just what I was explaining is that this is just the artifact. I mean, as a Neapolitan, I will never, the ambition is not to replace the job of pizzaiolo, but just to show that its dexterity, ability, and agility can ultimately be imitated by a robot. So this is just one application. We started a new interdepartmental research center, University of Napoli, Federico II, and I'm director of this center, and this is a center about surgical robotics. And this is just one application. And indeed, we're applying some of the algorithms that we developed for the pizza for the manipulation of deformable objects like tissues, like organs. And this is the case of robot-assisted surgery. As you know, the minimally invasive surgery like prostatectomy, like hysterectomy is carried out by the commercial system, by Da Vinci commercial system, by the California company Intuitive. And we got an open platform together with another 24 labs around the world. There are 2 in London, 1 in Budapest, and 4 in Italy, one of which is in my lab. And basically, we're trying to improve the performance of a surgical-based robot in which we want to get the tactile perceptions besides the visual perception. So it's a way just to advance the field. And this brings me to the topics of advanced robotics. And around year 2000, we launched a new series in Springer. This is the STAR series, which has published so far 120 volumes. I'm told it's one of the most successful series into the portfolio of lecture notes and series like this. So we launched STAR, Springer Tracks in Advanced Robotics. And for instance, this volume is the one by Quark, as also comes together with 2 MOOC courses. The world is changing, and so it's like a massive online open course is another thing which is influencing also the way we teach and the ways we ultimately use textbooks. So it's like one example of this. So this was STAR. And then after the success of the STAR series, I got an email one day, March 2002, and the email came from Thomas Ditzinger, who is the editor of the STAR series, and he wanted to involve myself and my brother, as I used to say, into the handbook project. My brother is Oussama Khatib, professor of robotics at Stanford University, and that's when the whole story of the handbook started. And for those of you who know me, I'm a kind of optimistic guy. Of course, if you do research, you have to believe in what you want to develop. And now, I think I'm quoted in the literature because one night in 2002, I was in a conference which I was hosting on the beautiful island of Ischia in the Gulf of Naples. And after another glass of wine, just like I invented this kind of motto, keep the gradient, with this smiley, with this emoticon, which has apparently become a sort of philosophy. And the funny thing that is, after my TEDx talk, which I gave 2 months ago, the next edition of the TEDx event in Napoli has adopted this as the motto, as the logo of the TED talk. So I'm going to show you the story of the handbook, and this is a nice video done by Oussama Khatib, just to give you the idea of the effort behind the project. yet there. So this was the first edition of the handbook. I've got 3 children, and I used to say that the handbook is like my 4th child. I think it's the biggest professional thing I've done in my life, more than my own textbook, all the grants, all the money that I brought. I mean, this is really absorbing 12 years of my life, from 2002 to 2008, when the first edition was published, and then the second edition from 2010 to 2016. So now I can relax a little bit. So, just to show you the corporate spirit of the Springer editorial team involved in the handbook, this ICRA, which is our flagship conference, International Conference of Bioautomation by IEEE, was held in Anchorage, Alaska in May 2010. And after the end of the conference, I went with my brother, Usama, and I took a flight over the Denali Mountain. So we landed on the McKinley, which is the highest mountain in the US. And then I sent a picture because both of us had received an award at this conference. And the lady from communication, my friend Renate Bias, with Tom, they photoshopped the logo of Talkeetna Airways, and this was and by chance, the colors of the aircraft were exactly the corporate colors of the handbook of the Spring Handbook of Robotics. I mean, this is serendipity in a way. So this was a lot of fun. So the second edition of the handbook was published, and now you see the real robot that you saw in the rendering. This is the Pizza Chef robot, Rodiman, in my lab with the freshly baked handbook, second edition of the handbook. And for those of you who know mathematics, my motto was keep the gradient. Since we were going to be involved with the second edition of the handbook, if you scroll in through the preface of the handbook, we found that, now the new motto is keep the Hessian, the second derivative of function, because it's coming like handbook 2. And I'm going to tell you the short story and the transition from the first edition to the second edition by showing you this another 2-minute video, which actually was looping at the Frankfurt Book Fair last October. So maybe some of you have already seen it, but I think it's a nice recapitulation. the picture, thanks. In the picture, you probably recognize beside the three of us, Usama, Thorsten Kröger, who has been a bright mind who was recruited to the project. He's still working at Google X in the Silicon Valley, but is one of the brains that is coming back to Europe because he will become chair of Lehrstuhl für Mechatronics in the University of Karlsruhe in Germany, starting April 1st. You saw Tom Dissinger and Judith Hinterberg. She is the editor of the handbook series, and you're more than welcome to stop by the booth at the bottom of the room on the right, because we can show you the app working on smartphone, tablets, phablets, and whatever. So just stop by and play the new technology of the handbook. Just a final remark, because I've been discussing this with a lot of colleagues. Actually, as you saw in the first video, in the other video, the handbook got the prestigious award in February 2009 in Washington. This was the award given annually by the American Association of Publishers, and this is the so-called PROS Award. So we got, they got, because this is a publisher, it's not ours. So it's like Springer got the award for the category of engineering and technology, but the sweetest surprise was to get the award for the general category of physical sciences and mathematics. So this was not an award for Springer, was not an award for us, the editors, not for the authors, but it was an award, in my humble view, for the community. It was the consecration of robotics as a science beyond the boundaries of engineering and technology. So the dialogue in our community, this is a statement which I took from last World Economic Forum in Davos. And there was a statement was like, robots are regarded as job killers. And I put a question mark, because for me, this is a sort of wrong view. Because the forecast is like in 15, 20 years from now, 5 million jobs will be lost because of robots. Now, it is true that there are some kind of hostile and dangerous jobs for humans, and that is the case to replace them by robots. But in my view, we're going towards a society in which we will have robots and humans. So basically, this is just a kind of mosaic picture illustrating some of the most advanced application of robotics. And after the end of my talk, I will play a 10-minute video which illustrates the coolest development of robotics in the last 15 years. And this video was purposely made as a supplement for the second edition of the handbook, and also it's available on the Vimeo platform, and it's freeware on the portal, which is handbookofrobotics.org. And I dare to say that this portal is a live project. Beyond the publication of the handbook, we're still collecting videos from the community. So of course, we're doing this for Springer Nature, but also as a service to the community, because we feel citizens of the scientific community and beyond. So my statement is, other than regarding robots as job killers, is that robots are with us, within us, and among us. So the future scenario is to have a sort of robots operating in so-called anthropic environments. Environments cohabit with humans. And the issue is to handle this, is to study the safety and the dependability and ultimately the acceptability of dealing with the robot. You will see in the video Paro. Paro is a robot seal, is a kind of robot pet. And that was designed by our friend in Tsukuba, Takanori Shibata, as a sort of entertainment toy for the elderly people. And now it's being used to care like autism in children, because children suffering from pre-autism have a kind of relational problem. And because of dealing with the robot pet, they are more prone to socialize. And actually, the therapist can also record the progress of the children in a kind of objective manner, other than being subjective to the ability of the therapist. So this is just one of the many applications. And because of the importance of the topic, actually, if you scroll through the pages of the handbook, in the very last chapter, chapter 80, is devoted to ethical, legal, and societal issues. In 2006, in Italy, we launched a new workshop, actually it was a symposium in Villa Nobel in Sanremo, and this was the birth of roboethics. Because this is the case for many technologies. Technoethics is a kind of usual issue. Each time a new technology comes into our internet and other things. But for this case, for the case of robotics, I would advocate that's even more important because there are like parts and objects in motion. So the accept of safety, dependability, and acceptability by the humans is a very important issue. That's all I have for this afternoon. I'd like to thank you very much. Muchas gracias, vielen Dank. Thanks very much. And as I said, I will be mingling around you this afternoon as well tomorrow. So feel free to stop by. Just come to the booth. We want to show you the handbook because robotics is a lot of fun. Thank you so much.